Have you ever looked at a chapter, maybe for school or a test, and just froze? You told yourself you'd study it tomorrow, then the next day, then maybe the night before the exam. But when you finally opened it, nothing made sense. Your mind was full, your energy was low, and every line of the textbook felt like it was written to torture you. Sound familiar? Now here's the brutal truth, it's not your fault. You were never taught how to learn properly. They told you to read thoroughly, highlight important lines, make notes. But did it ever really work for you? Be honest. Most of the time, you were just rereading pages, hoping something would stick. That's not studying. That's self-sabotage. And worse, it's legalized time wasting approved by schools, repeated by teachers, and blindly followed by millions. But what if I told you that there's a way to learn any chapter so fast, it actually feels illegal? Like your brain is cheating the system, absorbing faster, remembering longer, and doing half the effort for double the result? I know what you're thinking. Sounds too good to be true. And that's what they want you to think. Because the education system benefits when you struggle. It's built to test you, not to train you. It was never designed to teach you speed. It was designed to test your endurance. But today, I'm going to break that. I'm going to infect your mind with a new way of thinking. A system so powerful, it'll feel like your brain got hacked, like a switch flipped inside you, and suddenly, every chapter starts making sense. Every page feels lighter, and you don't even have to try hard anymore. Sounds insane? That's the point. Because smart learners don't study like others. They don't read for hours. They don't highlight mindlessly. They don't make colorful notes. They do something else, something forbidden, something that feels like you're breaking a rule, like you're slipping under the radar of the system and getting away with something sneaky. And once you understand it, once you experience it, you'll never be able to go back to your old methods again. In fact, you'll laugh at the way you used to study, because you'll realize the problem was never the subject, never the teacher, not even you. It was the method. And the method I'll show you today, the way to learn a full chapter faster than ever. It doesn't require motivation, talent, or even full focus. All it needs is a shift, a mental shift, from trying to memorize to understanding how your brain wants to learn. It's like pouring fuel directly into a turbo engine, and suddenly, the vehicle, your brain, that was crawling, starts to fly. And the best part? Nobody will believe you. Because when you finish a chapter in 20 minutes that others take 3 hours to struggle with, they'll think you're lying, cheating, or just gifted. Let them believe what they want. But deep down, you'll know. You learned how to game the system. You learned how to trick your brain into absorbing more in less time. And from now on, you're going to study so fast, it'll feel completely illegal. Let's begin. Step 1. Don't read Interrogate the chapter. 2 minutes. The biggest mistake you make is reading a chapter passively, like you're being spoon-fed. That's why it takes you hours and still nothing sticks. You need to flip the process. When you open a chapter, don't read it, question it. Turn the entire chapter into a mystery you're trying to solve. Ask yourself, what is this chapter really trying to say? Why is this topic even important? What problem is this trying to solve? What will they definitely ask me in the exam? You see, your brain is a problem-solving machine. The moment you give it a mission, even a small one, it wakes up. It stops being lazy. So instead of reading for 30 minutes and zoning out, spend 2 minutes asking questions, and suddenly, the entire chapter has a purpose. You just flip from consumer to hunter. And the hunter's brain is 10 times faster than the reader's brain. Step 2. The 20 to 80 breakdown. 2 minutes. Every chapter has only 20% of the content that gives 80% of the results. But schools force you to treat everything equally. That's a trap. Here's the hack. Skim the entire chapter once, not to read, just to locate the core ideas. Usually it's definitions, laws, principles, formulas, diagrams, headings, subheading. Ignore the filler paragraphs. They're designed to slow you down. You don't need stories, background, or extra explanation until you've learned the core skeleton. Once you see the 20%, capture it. Write it on a rough sheet, or mentally extract it. You'll now see that the whole chapter is just a few key bullets dressed up in confusing words. Congratulations. You just cut the chapter in half without learning a single line yet. Step 3. Teach yourself out loud. 2 minutes. Here comes the illegal part. Instead of memorizing, speak the chapter out loud to yourself like you're the teacher. Even if you're alone, act like you're explaining to a 5-year-old. It will feel stupid at first. Do it anyway. Here's why it works. When you try to teach, your brain automatically searches for understanding, not memorization. And understanding equals long-term memory. Say things like, okay, so what this actually means is, if I had to explain this in my own words. Basically, this part is trying to say, you'll stutter, you'll fumble, you'll realize what you don't understand. Perfect. That's your cue to go back and fix only those parts. This is 10x faster than highlighting and 100x better than silent reading. Because reading is input, but explaining is output. And output is where real learning happens. Step 4. Use the snapshot trap technique. 2 minutes. This technique is banned in traditional education because it makes revision almost useless. Once you've understood the key ideas of a chapter, don't make long notes. Make snapshot traps, short visual memory traps using symbols, arrows, stick diagrams, or one-liner jokes. Example. Instead of writing photosynthesis is the process by which green plants use sunlight to make food, draw a tiny plant with sunglasses eating pizza under the sun. Ridiculous? Exactly. That's why it sticks. Because your brain doesn't remember boring. It remembers weird. It remembers visual. It remembers emotion. 1 chapter equals 5-6 snapshot traps. Next time you revise, you don't even need notes. Just glance at your traps and boom, memory unlocked. This is why toppers study less and remember more. They never told you this because they want the advantage. Step 5. Time trap your brain with micro deadlines. 1 minute. Here's how to trick your brain into turbo mode. Tell yourself, I'm not studying for 2 hours. I'm finishing this chapter in 20 minutes. That's it. And set a countdown timer. What happens? Your brain, which was drifting, now senses urgency. It stops daydreaming. Why? Because deadlines activate dopamine. They force your brain to prioritize. And when you give a chapter a short, sharp deadline, your brain starts scanning faster, focusing harder, and filtering better. That's why some people perform better under pressure, because urgency burns laziness. Step 6. 1 dumb question to seal it forever, 1 minute. After you're done, ask yourself one final question. If I forgot everything tomorrow, what is the one thing from this chapter I'd want to remember? Now close your eyes, say that one thing out loud. Repeat it once before bed. That's it. This single step activates deep memory encoding. It tells your subconscious, this is important. And your brain files it under long-term retention. That's the moment your learning becomes permanent. Final thought. You've been told that studying is about hard work, long hours, and pain. But in reality, it's about understanding how to control your brain, not obey it, not beg it for focus. Control it, hack it, trap it. When you do that, every chapter becomes easier. Every session becomes shorter. And suddenly, learning feels so fast, so smooth, so effortless, you'll wonder if it's even legal. And maybe it shouldn't be. Step 6. 1 dumb question to seal it forever. Duration, approximately 1-2 minutes. Now here's the final, silent assassin of fast learning. It's stupidly simple. So simple, your logical brain will try to reject it. But do it anyway because this one step locks the entire chapter into your long-term memory. Here's the trick. When you finish the chapter, ask yourself this one dumb question. If I wake up tomorrow with complete memory loss, what's the one thing from this chapter I'd be desperate to remember? That's it. Just one question, one answer. Why does this work? Because you're forcing your brain to prioritize. Not everything in the chapter is equally important. But the brain doesn't know what to keep unless you command it. When you ask this question, your brain enters survival mode. It panics slightly and scans everything you learned, deciding, what's the core idea I cannot afford to lose? And that decision? It becomes deep encoded. Because anything your brain sees as urgent or critical is stored in long-term memory without repetition, without writing, without flashcards. Now here's how you amplify it. 1. After asking the question and getting your answer, say it out loud like it's a life lesson. Example, the most important thing from this chapter is that photosynthesis is the engine of life for plants. 2. Then close your eyes and say it again, just once. 3. Then, at night, right before sleep, recall only that one sentence. Not the whole chapter, just the core. Why right before sleep? Because your brain consolidates memory during sleep. Whatever you repeat at night, your subconscious locks it in. That one sentence becomes an anchor. And when you see the chapter again, even weeks later, that anchor pulls the rest of the memory back. This is how elite learners remember more by doing less. They don't revise 10 times. They don't memorize everything. They just pick the one domino that knocks over everything else. This step is illegal level learning. Because while everyone else is drowning in notes and rereading the whole chapter for the 5th time, you'll be smiling. Because you remembered it with just one dumb question. So now you know. Learning doesn't have to be slow, painful, or exhausting. You don't need 3 hours, 10 pages of notes, or a perfect environment. You need techniques that actually work with your brain, not against it. You need strategy, not struggle. And when you apply what I just showed you, you'll study chapters so fast, it will genuinely feel like you're cheating reality. But now I want to ask you something. What's the one subject or chapter that always gave you nightmares? Was it history, organic chemistry, trigonometry, or maybe something you still avoid to this day? Comment below the name of that one chapter or subject, because I want to show you how this method can break it apart like a toy puzzle. Also, be honest with me. Which step hit you the hardest today? Was it the snapshot trap technique? Or the one dumb question at the end? Tell me in the comments, because I read every single one. And if I see enough people struggling with a particular subject, I might just make a full cheat guide for that one topic for free. And hey, if this helped you even 1%, imagine what it'll do if you actually try it tonight. Pick one small chapter, apply the steps, time yourself. Then come back here and tell everyone in the comments how fast you did it. Let's make this a place where people flex their speed, not their stress. Because from now on, you don't study like the average student. You study like someone who cracked the code. You study so fast, it should be illegal. Now go prove it. I'm waiting in the comments.